I'd like to start by acknowledging the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the lands I'm speaking to you from today. I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians across the lands we're all joining together from today. I'd like to pay respects to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded. Welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us for the second of our chats with this year's Mental Health Matters Awards winners. The event has been pre-recorded, but our award winner will be live in the chat. So please add any questions, comments, congratulations, feedback for them there. I am absolutely thrilled today to be speaking with Isabel Kenner from Trans Pride Australia, who won this year's Mental Health Matters Rainbow Inclusion Award. And I'm also joined by Joelle Murray from ACON, the sponsors of the Rainbow Inclusion Award. Thank you both for chatting with us today, and congratulations, Isabel.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So to get started, can you tell us a little bit about Trans Pride Australia and the work that you do?
Yeah, sure. We're an Australia-based trans and gender diverse support group. We started as a Facebook group. We've kind of expanded into live events and, well, less live events during lockdown, but I suppose that's really what Friday Night Socials was about. But also, an online page, sponsorship of events, this sort of thing. Like we're trying to create spaces that are safe and inclusive for trans and gender diverse folks, and also raise awareness at the government level, at the social level, about the issues faced by trans and gender diverse folks.
And you did mention the project that you won the award for, Friday Night Socials. Can you tell us a bit more about that project in particular and how it got started?
Yeah, so that was started by Trans Pride Australia in 2020, kind of in response to the first lockdown of the pandemic, when we were no longer able to do live events. We used to do quite a few social events out at pubs and parks and this and that, but with the inability to meet up in person, we decided to start trying to do online social meetups, and Friday Night Socials was one of those. It was definitely the most popular. It was originally run by Carol Muller, who was on the Trans Pride Australia board at the time. I wasn't on the board at the time, and she ran it through the first part of Friday Night Socials live, and then she stepped down from the board. I stepped onto the board, and I took over Friday Night Socials because I hadn't missed very many of them. I was a bit of a piece of furniture by then. So yeah, I've run it since late 2020, and it's been fantastic. And what we discovered as a result of Friday Night Socials was that it wasn't just people that couldn't go to the live events anymore. It was people in isolated areas. And this was kind of also an intention to get folks that were in regional Australia, regional New South Wales, regional Victoria, to be able to connect and socialise with folks, who understood what they were going through, who understood their issues, and create a safe space for them. And it's been really, really good for that.
And have you found that there have been a fair few people joining who are geographically or socially isolated?
Yeah, I mean, we have regulars in regional Victoria, regional New South Wales, less regional Queensland, but definitely Queensland. I don't think outer Brisbane is regional. But yeah, it's fantastic. We see one of our participants' dairy farm every week. We get to see their cows, which is very interesting. But yeah, just being able to see those folks every week and sort of have them brighten my week and hopefully brighten theirs as well. And just have a chat, have a drink, have a little bit of a snack off camera, hopefully, and joke around a bit. It's very informal.
And we know that the impacts of prejudice and discrimination have a really detrimental effect and impact on the mental health of trans and gender diverse people. What are some of the ways that Friday Night Socials have helped to alleviate this?
Well, I think it sort of goes back to the thing I just said about informality. It's a very relaxed space. And we can talk about anything. I mean, we have topics that range from what we did on the weekend, what we're doing tonight, maybe after socials, if we're out of lockdown, what we've done during the week, to surgery concerns and hormone level concerns, and if people have had a particularly nasty experience, we can talk through it and work through it, because most folks in the chat have experienced the same sort of things, and we can all empathize with each other quite closely. We do occasionally have non-trans and gender diverse folks on the call, but we always make sure we give people notice before that's going to happen, because we do want to make it a very trans-focused space, but we also want to allow inclusion of, if they want to join.
Yeah, you mentioned safety as being one of the key things, and it sounds like safety really helps to build the connections.
Very much, very much. Safety is it's a really important thing for trans folks, because look, I mean, I'm actually fine these days. I feel a little bit guilty that I can kind of just be myself and walk around and not feel unsafe at all. But I remember the days when I felt very unsafe going into, women's bathrooms, in shopping centers or anything like that. I would just, my heart would be pounding. I'd be walking in there. I'd keep my head down. I'd just do what I needed to do and get the hell out, and try not to make eye contact with anyone, because I just didn't want to be abused or called out or anything like that. And thankfully, I never have been. I've been very fortunate, but I know a lot of trans folks who have, and it's a very real fear to live in fear.
And having people to share those fears with sounds like it lightens the burden a little bit.
Definitely. I think a burden shared is a burden somewhat lessened. And also to have a space where you're never going to face that stuff is very valuable, particularly a social space, because there's not that many trans friendly social spaces, specifically trans friendly social spaces around. And having one every single week, you can attend, and you can talk to folks who aren't going to judge you and are always at least mostly going to get your pronouns right. Look, I've misgendered myself in the past, and sometimes we all get it wrong, but we all kind of get it, and we know how to respond, which is, by the way, just apologize and move on straight away. Don't dwell on this.
Yeah, no need to make a big deal out of it. Just sorry and self-correction.
Exactly.
And Joelle, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about why Trans Pride Australia stood out to win this award.
Yeah, I think if we think about the protective factors for mental health and suicide prevention, like social connection, feeling a part of a community, being able to draw from each other's experiences to increase knowledge and encourage health promoting behaviours. So these are all the kind of, so these protective factors were really evident in the Friday night socials, and that was why the judging panel rated it so high and thought it was the outstanding winner this year.
Yeah, it really embodies those things in a way that is led by and for trans people. And one of the things that I've seen since the pandemic started, a lot of ideas, great ideas, come and go quite quickly, and it can be really difficult to maintain momentum for regular online events. But Friday Night Socials really stands out as being successful in this regard. What's contributed to that?
That's a great question. Yeah, I'm not very organized. When I took over, Carol told me very specifically, very pointedly, she's a very organized person. And she said, make sure that you have the meeting organized by, at least Tuesday or Wednesday, because, you don't want to organize it on Friday. And I'm like, sure, I'll do that. So my first one I forgot until about 4 p.m. Friday. Um, I created a meeting. That one wasn't very successful, I have to admit. But I think I've brought quite a bit of my own informality to the process. So what I've found is that when I do, or when I have in the past organized and managed to remember on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, we get less people. People don't, they see the promotion of it in the Trans Pride Australia Facebook group feed, and then they forget about it and it just sort of disappears. And even if I tag it as an announcement, people don't see them because they're there every day. And we get less folks. Whereas if I organize it late on a Thursday or even on a Friday and create the event, then we get more people. So I've started just doing that. And now that I've actually got some ADHD meds, I've been a little bit better at actually getting it done late on a Thursday, but also with the new, with the latest lockdown, with the latest lockdown, I've tried to sort of vaguely create themes for every week to give everyone a sort of a starting point of what to talk about. We very rarely talk about the subject for very long, but certainly it exists. And we can always fall back on it if the chat slows down a little bit, which sometimes it does.
And you said you were sort of part of the furniture of the group before you started in the role of organising it. Are there other people like that that have been consistently coming?
Yes, actually, there is a couple who got married in March this year who met on Friday night socials, and they attend just about everyone, and I love them both dearly. It's fabulous, and they're not the only relationship that has formed from Friday night socials. In fact, I had one. Very brief though it was. Yeah, it's a very social group. And I can't wait for us to have live events again and stream Friday night socials from the live event, which I've done one time before by myself in a pub.
That's incredible. And you mentioned the relationships and the marriage.
Yes.
Some of the times that you've seen maybe some of the mental health or well-being impacts from this work.
Yeah, I think we've got a few folks that join who have a very difficult time mental health wise from an anxiety and depression perspective. Because if you are suffering from that sort of thing anyway, being trans makes things so much more challenging because anxiety, I don't suffer from anxiety. I've been very fortunate to not have any anxiety challenges. But as I said, I still feel fear of going into certain spaces and have done. Anytime I've been presenting as myself in the real world. And I couldn't imagine how difficult it is for those folks that are feeling, the full effects of anxiety and depression, and then having the trans challenges come on top of that. It's a real intersectional explosion of issues they need to deal with. And thankfully, they can talk about the things that have happened to them in the week. They can unload. They can, be as open or as closed as they'd like, but the space is there for them to step into when they want to do it. And some folks do, and some folks sort of hang back a little bit. And I've noticed some folks come in, new one week, and they're very quiet, and they build up, and eventually they're talking a lot, and it's great. So I think that is where it really is. It's providing that oxygen to people who don't feel like they often have it.
That's a really wonderful metaphor, that oxygen, that it's essential to have that breathing space, and even literally breathing is so important for managing big feelings. I know more and more organisations are realising the importance of meaningful inclusion when it comes to mental health for trans people. And I also know that a lot of the people who will be watching this come from organisations who are probably interested in how they can do meaningful inclusion, how they can really ensure that their services are safe for trans and gender diverse people. What are some of the things that people can learn from Trans Pride Australia? And maybe Joelle as well, if you want to talk about any more general advice. So Isabel, first, if you want to talk about specifically.
Just organizations need to get past and I know this is going to be a little controversial, I think they need to get past the kid gloves of, this is such a huge thing. We need a massive organizational change, and everyone needs to be emailed about, when a trans person is transitioning. What needs to happen more is that the trans person needs to just be consulted and listened to. As an organization, all organizations need to ask more than tell and more than act. They need to ask and listen and try to have that individual's rights and desires and needs guide how the organization responds. And I know there are a lot of policies that get engaged to provide time off for the trans person when they're first transitioning and going to attend work as themselves for the first time, to provide training for staff. And all of these things are fantastic and they're really good things to have. But ask if the trans person wants that. Do they want such a heavy focus on them? When I transitioned in the workplace, I came to work as my old name one day and my new name the next. I didn't ask for anything. And it took 12 months for my email to change. And I just told people as they went, no, that's not my name anymore. My name is this. That's not my pronouns anymore. My pronouns are this. And I dealt with it myself because that was how I wanted to deal with it. And thankfully, my workplace was just like, okay, but I couldn't have a choice. But yeah, I think organizations need to trust that trans folks can help them guide and not control how it's done.
From a providing services to trans people perspective, there are some things from Isabel that I want to re-emphasize or repoint. Asking trans people, involving trans and gender diverse people in co-design and also in the evaluation of your programs. There are organizations like 2010 and ACON that can work with organizations on, that inclusive service delivery. There are also resources like Trans Hub for people to be able to educate themselves, from a 101 perspective, or get some start somewhere. On their journey of learning about what what inclusion might look like.
Yeah, thank you. There are some really incredible resources out there, and it seems like if an organization or a company can take the initiative and make sure that that's available for people, then the burden of education around those things won't be on a trans or gender diverse person, which is always important. So then you can get to the business of just listening and trusting people.
Yes, don't be like me.
And I really loved what you said as well, Joelle, about the evaluation side of things. So not just including trans and gender diverse people sort of ad hoc, but actually making sure that it's part of the evaluation and redesign of projects and programs. So this is, Isabel, an incredible project, and Trans Pride Australia do really wonderful work. What was it like to win the Rainbow Inclusion Award?
Incredibly surprising. When I heard that we'd been nominated, I hadn't even thought that there would be awards for such things. And I'm so grateful that there are, because I think that mental health is such a really important space to celebrate and to raise awareness of programs that do help in this space. But yeah, terribly humbled, because we'd started Friday Night Socials as a way to bring socialization to our trans and gender diverse community. And I suppose the mental health benefits of the sessions became clear later. It wasn't like we started it with that as our goal, but it became clear that it was very beneficial as time went on. So yeah, elated, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for chatting with us today. It's been wonderful to hear more about the program. And yes, please do check out Trans Pride Australia as well as ACON. We'll be posting links in the description and in the chat. So check them both out and have a look at ACON's and 2010's training, which I believe is linked through ACON as well. Congratulations again. Thank you, Isabel and Joelle, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And
thanks, Sasha,
for watching today. Our next Q&A is tomorrow. So join us. We'll be talking with the winners of the Outstanding Achievement in Mental Health Promotion Award, Newcastle Football. Have a great day.